It was late afternoon when Maya found the envelope hidden beneath a stack of old books in her grandmother's attic. She had been going through boxes of forgotten memories, unsure of what she might find. Her grandmother, who had passed away 2 years ago, had lived a life full of stories and secrets. But this letter, was different. It was addressed to someone Maya had never heard of. The paper was yellowed with age, the handwriting elegant but hurried, as though written in a moment of deep emotion. The name on the envelope, Adrian Walker, meant nothing to Maya, yet something about it tugged at her heart. She opened the envelope slowly, not quite knowing why, but knowing she had to. Inside, the letter was filled with words that seemed too familiar, too intimate. It was a love letter, one that had never been sent. "I don't know how to say this, Adrian. I don't know if I ever will. You've been my constant, my quiet storm, the one I can't imagine my life without. But what am I supposed to do with this love that exists only in the shadows, never to be shared in the light?" Maya's breath caught in her throat. She turned the letter over, hoping there would be more, a clue, a final word, a closing sentence that might explain everything. But there was nothing, only silence, and one small, heartbreaking question: why hadn't she sent it? Maya couldn't shake the feeling that she had uncovered something that was never meant for her to see, yet it felt like it was calling out to her. This letter had been written long before Maya was born, in a time when her grandmother was a young woman with hopes and dreams still untarnished by the years. But why had she never sent it? Was this Adrian someone her grandmother had loved but lost? Or was there more to the story? The question lingered in Maya's mind as she went through the rest of the box, but nothing else seemed as important anymore. That one letter, with its heartfelt confessions and unspoken words, consumed her thoughts. She knew she had to find out more about Adrian Walker. Who was he? Why had he never replied? Or worse, why had Maya's grandmother never spoken of him again? Days passed, and Maya became fixated on the mystery. She dug through old photo albums, reaching out to distant relatives for stories of her grandmother's youth. No one mentioned Adrian. It was as if he had never existed. Yet, that letter, those words, didn't lie. One afternoon, while speaking with her grandmother's best friend from childhood, Maya got a hint that had pointed her in the right direction. Claire, the elderly woman with a soft smile but a knowing gaze, hesitated before she spoke. "Drying well, he was the one that got away. Your grandmother never told you about him, did she?" Maya's heart skipped a beat. "No, I've never heard of him. Why didn't she say anything?" Claire sighed deeply, her eyes distant, as if seeing a time long past. "Some loves are too big, Maya. Too painful to talk about. But I'll tell you this, Adrian was her world. Until he wasn't." Maya spent the next few weeks trying to piece together the fragments of her grandmother's past. She visited every place mentioned in her grandmother's journal entries. Old parks, quiet streets, a cafe at the corner where young lovers once sat, lost in conversation. But there was nothing left of Adrian. No photos, no letters, no trace of a man who had clearly meant so much to her grandmother. But then, just as she was starting to lose hope, Maya found one final lead. An address on the back of one of the postcards her grandmother had kept. It was a small town on the coast, a place where the sea and sky seemed to stretch endlessly, and the wind whispered stories of forgotten times. The postcard was dated just a year before her grandmother's wedding. Maya didn't hesitate. She packed a bag and made the journey. The town was quiet, a place where time seemed to stand still. The salty air was a balm to her spirit as she walked through the narrow streets, searching for any sign of Adrian. She visited the old lighthouse, the cafe from her grandmother's journals, but still, no one knew him. That was until she met an elderly man sitting on the steps of the lighthouse. "I remember her," he said softly, his voice weathered with age. Her name was Eleanor. Beautiful woman, she had this light in her eyes. She waited here for him, for Adrian. He paused, his eyes clouding with the weight of old memories. But he never came back. Maya's heart pounded in her chest as the man spoke. Adrian hadn't returned. Was he the one who never showed up? Or had something else kept them apart? The pieces were starting to come together, but Maya knew that the story was far from over. What happened between her grandmother and Adrian? Why had Maya's grandmother kept the love letter all those years, but never sent it? And most of all, what had become of Adrian Walker? Maya was determined to find out, but with every answer came a new question, a deeper mystery. The truth, it seemed, was still waiting to be uncovered, and Maya felt that it was just out of reach, like a story that had never been fully told.